Hello Persona fans and welcome back to Trinity Soul Tuesdays, the show where I cover an episode of Persona Trinity Soul every 2 weeks and encourage you all to watch along with me. When we last left off, Konoru was able to barf her addiction away and awaken to her persona. On today's episode, Eiko and Ryo are going back over the autopsy of that guy Ryo killed. It turns out there was some kind of mysterious medication in his bloodstream. Alright, well, see you later, Ryo. And then Ryo needs to take his mysterious medication. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Shin and Jun, meanwhile, are at the hospital because Jun needs to get a checkup to confirm his brain still, works and stuff. The doctor there basically tells them that they were totally gonna just let Jun die, but then some doctor they'd never met before showed up and was all like, I got this. The doctor's name was Keisuke Komatsubara, apparently though he died a while back. While at the hospital, the gang runs into Ryo, who had come to visit Yumi, who is back in a state of apathy syndrome? Did we know that? I feel like we were never told that. Well, while I try to remember that, Ryo remembers looking over all the Persona awakenings that Inui had recorded. What's cool about this is when we see Shins, we do remember that scene. And that episode did have a quick, oh man, who's that moment, and now we know who that was. It was Inui, who's apparently just been recording all the kids. Yeah, okay. Speaking of keeping an eye on things, while out shopping for some food, Mayuri stumbles upon a familiar scene. It's our old pal Yuji. Last we saw him, he was in nothing but his underpants hiding amidst the trees, so I guess this is a step up. Later that night, Ryo is talking to his BFFF, the extra F stands for phone, while Ito and Narasaki are staking him out. Ryo asks about DSI, a company that used to be involved in Persona research, though apparently that all stopped when Komatsubara died. Before we can ask any further questions about that bombshell, Ryo's contact arrives and delivers him a bag of those pills he's been taking, though he warns Ryo that long-term use of these pills could be fatal. Ryo tries to ask if these pills are from the original batch or if they're still making the pills, but his dealer threatens to cut off his supply if he keeps asking questions. As Narasaki and Ito try to head after Ryo, they're cut off by Eiko, and then I guess they just decide to go get dinner together. She tells the detectives that she and Ryo's relationship has nothing to do with her transfer to their department. Or should I say her relationship? Yeah, caught that typo while watching, but she tells them that she's in the same boat they are, working on the reverse cases without knowing much else, without knowing what is Ryo hiding from them. Also, Shin is wearing an apron, because why shouldn't he? Ryo gets back on the phone with his buddy and ends up telling him that he's been taking those pills. I guess there are some secrets even between BFFFs. He takes it pretty well though, probably because the last friend of his that took life-threatening Persona pills turned out just fine. But before he can object, their phone call gets cut off after Ryo nearly hits an old man in a wheelchair. And that man is Keisuke Komatsubara. Oh, okay, Maria Kujo. Hey, wait a minute, I don't care! You're still the same creep that, let me check my notes here. Saved Jun's life! Wait, that doesn't sound right. Eiko had come over to Shin and Jun's house for dinner to wait for Ryo, but naturally he's a little busy right now, so she just goes home. Shin, being a teenage idiot, decides to ask Eiko if she likes Ryo.
好きよ.
Oof. Sorry, Shin. Maria basically monologues at Ryo for a bit about how personas are simply born from humans. No matter what godlike form they may take or incredible powers they may possess, they can't change fate. So naturally, as a crazy doctor scientist, he has discovered a way to do exactly that. Komatsubara is overjoyed that Ryo and his siblings have all awoken to their powers, and before he uses the light of a passing car to make his escape, he tells Ryo exactly where to meet him if he wants to try and stop him from creating his ideal world. Back at the super secret lair of the Maribito that looks like it's just an abandoned subway tunnel or something, we've got all the evil Persona users discussing their plans. There's Broccoli, Chie, the Michelin Mon, and the twins. What, do you not remember a few of those? They've totally been here the entire time. Except, oh wait, no they haven't. Who are you people? Why are we only just now meeting you? They're talking about how Yuji was nothing more than a lying traitor, but Komatsubara comes to give them their assignments. Saki, you keep disguising yourself as Mayuri and keep an eye on those meddling kids to make sure I can still get away with things. And as for the rest of you, there's still a lot of people on that list we've got. You just go keep ripping out personas and killing folks. What do I care? Komatsubara says that with enough personas, they can control the Sea of Psyche, which I'm assuming is the same as the Sea of Souls or Sea of Consciousness from the games. And he claims to want to do this to become the savior of mankind's consciousness, presumably also in reference to the new norm of persona end bosses, all representing humanity's collective desire for things. It actually does work pretty well. And that is where this episode ends. This episode is sort of hard to judge on its own. See, the next episode is actually the end of part 1 of the series. So I get that this episode had a few loose ends and things it needed to lay out before we head to any conclusions. But it still felt like that's all it had going for it, was to just give exposition. There really wasn't much of an actual plot to this episode that gave it its own identity. Like I said, I like the information it brought to the table, and it certainly wasn't an awful way to make sure we know what we're about to get into, but I would have just liked a little more. Those of you that are watching along at home, what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all again in 2 weeks, but for now, so long. On the next episode of Trinity Soul Tuesdays, one of these characters will die.